Good afternoon. I'm sitting in my truck cab at a truck stop in Texas waiting for a delivery appointment to come through. So I've got some downtime and wanted to talk a little bit about my next steps in photography. I'm planning on buying a camera pretty soon and have just been kind of getting back into photography. I wanted to make it something more a part of my life, partly because I wanted something that I have shown talent for. Um, I wanted I wanted to develop it and see if I can become good at it. I think it would be nice to have something in my life that I'm good at, and I think photography is a good candidate to try. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about just some of the process that I've been going through for selecting a camera, but then also just some of my history with photography. And I guess I'll just start out with saying a little bit about what one of some of the stuff I've been thinking about. I'm getting excited, looking forward to owning a decent camera pretty soon, and it's kind of inspired me to start looking at the world kind of in, I don't know, preparation for that. Like what kind of things might I take pictures of, have keep an eye out for scenes or objects, or the pay attention to lighting, stuff like that as I go through my days. And I think that's one of the big benefits of photography, is to help you notice the many things around that are potentially interesting. Sometimes it takes putting them in a different light or at a particular angle to help people notice them or see how interesting they are. But there's a lot that is potentially interesting around us, and some stuff that's not. But well, maybe you're just, maybe the stuff that's not interesting you're just not looking at the right way, or I don't know. There could be more down that road, or maybe, I mean, it's one of those things where there's an infinite amount of space to explore as far as what to look at and what to pay attention to. So there is a necessity to, if you want to live any kind of decent life, to move on from things and let some things pass by. But I think one of the things I like about myself is I do tend to be able to see things from a different angle and to pick out something interesting. Maybe I think that's something I can learn to apply in photography. So some personal history with it. I've dabbled in photography for a while. I can't remember what exactly my first camera was, but I know I had a 35mm Pentax camera with a 50mm lens. So that was a film camera, and that was right at the time where I think digital cameras were available, but they hadn't quite caught up yet to the quality of film cameras. And so that was, every recommendation was to still get a film camera. But it was difficult because you didn't get the instant feedback, and there were a lot of things like processing the cameras do now that inside the like camera itself, that didn't happen. So I had a lot of disappointing shots, or I remember one shot that came back. It was kind of a mundane shot, but I liked it just because what I had expected to happen had actually happened. It was just some bushes and a rock and something. I was carrying this camera and an old aluminum tripod around. I carried it backpacking in Colorado, up in Rocky Mountain National Park, up in New York with Boy Scouts, and I forget what else. I carried that around a lot for a while, and I still have some photo albums somewhere with pictures from it. And then I had, at some point, I was trying to remember when I had got, it's sort of a point and shoot. It was at that time, higher end point and shoot. I think it was like 7 megapixels or something, which was at that time. Like, I think the DSLRs at that time, when I got that, were like at 10 megapixels. So it was, and like the phones were maybe at 2 or 3, maybe. And so I had that for a while. I was trying to remember what all I got on that. That must have been part of when I was like living in Colorado. I was living in Denver for a little while. That might have been that time. Anyways, I carried that. Yeah, that must have been, because I have a bunch of photos from the Rocky Mountain National Park that from when I used to go hiking up there when I lived in Denver. Still have them around somewhere. There's shadows of some of the better ones are still around somewhere. And then for a while now, I've been just using my phone camera. The last 2 phones I've had have been pretty good cameras on them, and I wasn't really in a position to afford a dedicated camera. So I was using those, and I enjoy taking photos, and I've had people compliment my framing, and I'm not sure about composition. I'm not sure about, but framing is part of that, I guess. I think that's maybe something have an intuition for, or maybe a talent for, but I haven't really developed it very much. So I have paid attention, and I have tried some to learn, but I haven't. It's kind of one of the, I don't know. I picked up a thing or two, but it hasn't been like a dedicated effort, really. More just to try to bring back some of what I see when I go hiking or something. But like I was saying, I think it would be nice to actually have something in my life that I'm good at, and so I'm hoping to develop photography more into there's potential that it could become something I'm good at. And I think having something where I've shown some talent for and interest in the past is a good place to start. And then being in this trucking job that I'm in, obviously it's provided the finances for being able to start to think about owning a camera now, or a more dedicated camera. And I guess the other part of the history I missed was buying, as part of my trucking started taking off for over the last year. I did buy a action camera, which is what I'm filming on now. To make this, it is a Osmo Action Pro 4 or something like that. Action 4 or whatever. So yeah, I've been filming with that. I took a trip last year to some national parks, and I've shot a few photos on it. I usually use my phone still for photos, but I've been attempting to learn a little bit, and I've learned a little bit about video editing. Been using CapCut. It's I tried another program, I forget what it was. But it was really it was much more difficult to use, and it was crazy what it would do to file sizes, and I don't know, people probably don't complain about it because they have really high-end machines they're using it or something, but it seemed pretty ridiculous. It was like DaVinci something. Anyways, so anyways, getting back to where I was, and being in trucking's giving me this, now I can afford it to buy a camera, but also I'm thinking the setting has some potential. There's stuff I see every day, like a lot of times it won't be great opportunity to pull out a camera, but sometimes there will be times where I can pull out a camera and try to keep it available, and there's interesting stuff going on, and I have to make sure it's not sensitive or anything. I think some, like one port I was at, they might have been, I don't know if they're sensitive to photography for security issues or anything, but there's definitely interesting stuff I'm around here and there, and I get to see a lot of the country, and at least I might, even if I don't get to photograph while I'm driving or whatever, I can know where to come back to. That might be a thing that I use it as scouting as well, or have an idea of where I might want to look. And let's see, I tried to make a few notes to try to get through this video. So yeah, the types of photography I'm mostly interested in, I've mostly tended to be interested more in landscape before. I've started to, as I've been researching now, I've picked up an interest in learning a little bit about street photography and see if that might be something I'd be interested in. And then just, trying to see a little bit of the artistic side of making mundane objects look interesting, or I don't know, I passed by this odd setting of like these, I don't know what they were made of, but they were these like bull statues, and there were like a bunch of them piled up behind a warehouse, and I thought there's gotta be an interesting photo in there somewhere. So stuff like that. But yes, so landscape, street, maybe some wildlife. I did pick up a telephoto lens, so I might try out some wildlife photography, see if that's something appealing. So basically trying whatever I see that's interesting, not trying to limit myself anyway, and just keep trying things. And then filming as well. I've been doing some of the filming these videos. I don't know, they're definitely not professional grade. I haven't been putting that much effort into them. But I could potentially improve. I could definitely improve there as well, and try to tell stories and make them somewhat more interesting. That could be a direction to improve in. Let's see. So talk about the camera I've selected. I've pretty much I've built up some orders on a photography store I forget the name of, and Amazon, and I'm just waiting for the timing to be right to order and making sure I'm getting everything. I still need to research what kind of software I'm going to need. So that's my next thing when I go back in the back and start looking around on YouTube again. That's my next goal, is to get an idea of what software's out there and what I might want to at least start with. But going into it, I had thought, I think from previous times that I had looked around at cameras before, I had a high view of Nikon or Nikon. I don't know how you say it. But I had heard that their optics were really good. They had been known for quality optics for a long time. So that's what I initially thought I would get. But then doing some research, and I'm not going to get completely into specifics, details. I'm just not going to remember all the decision points that I went through. But I ended up. Well, first I was considering. It seemed like the Nikon don't have a great lineup for a lower or mid-tier kind of camera. It seemed like they might have really good stuff for high-end still, but I think that's at least my impression right now. I would have to research it more or know more. I'm not an authority or anything. I just basically researched a little bit, but that was my feeling for it. Is they have more of a high-end selection. And then Canon I was looking at, because obviously they're kind of the most popular brand I think right now. So I looked at that, and I guess the thing that most discouraged me from Canon is their proprietary kind of attitude of their lenses. And I've seen some of the stuff. I can't say anything specific, but I know some of their printer. I've encountered Canon shenanigans in the printer department, so I know some of their business practices are suspect. So I'd rather not go with that, and it does seem like a lot of photographers are switching to Sony. Sony's getting a lot of the content creators that I've been watching are using them, and they're doing a pretty good job, it seems like, and developing new tech. They seem to have a penchant for that, and they have a good selection in the lower to mid-range where I was kind of looking. And I think I've found a good, fairly all-around camera. One of the big things it has on it is a screen that's a back screen that is flexible, or you can rotate it around so you can see it from the front, which means it could be good for talking head videos. I might even start doing some of these on that We'll see. Might take me a little bit to figure out how it works. But yeah, so it has the video features. It has some good auto focusing features, which would allow me to try out more action oriented stuff like street photography or wildlife photography. And it has good lenses and stuff for wide angle as well. It is it's a cropped sensor on it, so it's not a full size sensor. Which I'm not going to get super into the weeds on it. Like, if you really want to know about stuff, you're going to need to do some research too. But basically, it's a smaller sensor. It's so it's like, again, I'm not a super gearhead, so like a lot of time, once I don't remember all the specific numbers, but I just kind of get a feel for what seems like a good decision, or like compare, and then once I've made a decision, a lot of times I let go of a lot of the information that I use to make the decision. But it's somewhere around 20 to 25 megapixels, I think. Whereas like a full frame is somewhere around like 30 to 40 megapixels, full sensor. So there's a couple. I mean, obviously there's some disadvantages. It's not taking in as much information. So there's so like you can take in more information on a full sensor. However, 20 some odd megapixels is plenty for me to start out with. It's plenty to crop and do digital zoom stuff on. Like I said, when I was last time I had really looked into cameras, I remember when they were 10 megapixels, so being 20 something is plenty. And let's see. Oh, and it's a lot cheaper, or like, I don't know, by half or something, like maybe something, I don't know, some significant portion cheaper, the camera itself and the lenses that go with it, and they're also smaller and lighter, all of which I like. And I think especially for like a first system, it's a good place to start with. And in a few years, we'll see. It's hard for me to project any kind of timeline, but somewhere down the line, I can look into getting a full frame or a full sensor camera. But I think even then, it will still be nice to have a camera system that isn't so terribly precious. Like, it wouldn't be a catastrophic event if the camera bag got stolen, or if I was traveling, or it's replaceable. It's not. It is still going to be fairly expensive, but it's not nearly what it could be if it was the full sensor equivalent, or nearly. And it's I am selecting a range of lenses, and again, this is making it more expensive than I need it to be. I could very well do with one or two lenses and be fine, but I am in a position where I can afford a few lenses, and so I'm going to buy them. I think I would like to just have like a tool set that feels like I have at least at least a plausible try at a bunch of different things. Like I said, the landscape, so like the wide angle, different lenses. I've been watching different people talk about how they use different kinds of lenses in landscape photography. So I'd like to have that full kind of not everything, but at least a pretty robust range of things to try. But then there's also being able to try, the nature of photography, the wildlife, and street photography and stuff like that. So, and also the video portion. So I've selected 3 zoom lenses to go with. One's a super wide to wide angle, one's more of a normal range, and one is a telephoto sort of situation. And then I've got 2 they call them prime lenses that don't zoom themselves, and they have the upside to that is they tend to let in a little bit more light. They're slightly less expensive, but more, it's more, the reason to buy them is they let in more light, and they have a potential to be a little bit more clear. So I'm getting one at wide angle and one at like a close to like a normal size. I forget what exactly. Like I said, I researched it, I picked it out, and now I forgot the number. But it's like it's in the 30s range, I think. So with the there's a little bit of an adjustment between the way a crop sensor sees things, is a little bit different going through a lens than how a full sensor sees them. So there's a little bit of adjustment, but it will basically end up being like a mid-range, not a mid-range kind of normal lens. And that's what I was thinking of might be my go-to video lens. And I was thinking it would be good for like street photography, or especially at night, like at truck stops. Or, I don't know if that's a real street photography, but it's a really cool setting. So like maybe I'll get some shots of truck stops and construction sites and stuff like that. So maybe it's a whole new genre of photography that not many photographers are running around in hard hats and reflective vests on these job sites. So maybe I'll find a place or two to take a unique photo. So let's see. So that's my lenses. I'm planning to get a tripod. I'm looking at getting just a travel one. I did see some good information or somebody making a good case that you'd like the tripod to be at least as high enough that you don't have to extend the pole, I forget what it's called, out of the 3 legs, because that becomes unstable, and that you can still see through it without having to crouch, which I don't think is. I think that's a nice aspiration, but I don't think I saw. It was hard to find like a travel kind of tripod that would fit that, and I thought. I saw suggestions that put it on a bench, or like if I'm in I don't know. It's not going to work at every situation. There are going to be some situations where I wish I had a taller one, but there's going to be a lot of situations where I can make do. And then just kind of having the option to set it up and be stable, having that tool to start out with, and maybe it is something that I'll end up getting another one once I see situations where I know I need a different kind of tool. So yeah, that's, I guess, the way to look at it, is just try to collect some different tools for the job. And like other things, it is nice to have the correct tool for the job, but sometimes you can work around, and then sometimes you realize you shouldn't be working around. You should just get the right tool. So as I gain more experience, I'll hopefully be able to figure out which what is what, and what is required, or like what I should really prioritize. But then it's the bags. I guess that's another part of the setup, is being able to cart it around. I did look into some photography bags. Does seem to have a really high markup for anything labeled photography, and a lot of them honestly just look like purses. So there's that. They're stylish in an odd way. Some of them are nice, but then yeah, they're just really expensive. And I checked into some bags in like it's not really a surplus store, but it's along those same lines, but like the Tactical kind of store. You can find bags where they're very modular. They've got lots of pockets. A lot of times they're good with they have weatherproofing. And yeah, they're like modular. Did I say that already? They've got like different pockets and pouches you can add to the outsides or the insides, or they're pretty. They've got a lot of that functionality that similar to like what photographers want, I guess. There's lots of small things they like to carry around in their own little pouches, and they're a lot cheaper, I think. It's still some markup, but not nearly like what it is for a photography bag. So I've already got one that I've been using for my laptop bag, and it's got room in it for photography equipment. I might get another one, but I'll start out seeing what I can make. I'll probably get small little pouches to protect the lenses and the camera, and probably slide those inside the cheaper bag to start with, and see how that goes, and go with that. And then it'll be. Oh, I guess one of the other points I should touch on for the point in favor of a crop sensor camera is that it should produce smaller file sizes, which is beneficial to me right now because my laptop is not terrible, but it's still a laptop, and it's not the greatest. So having more manageable file sizes will probably be beneficial for me for a little while. I do plan on getting a better computer at some point, but I'm not sure when that will be. For now, it'll be a lot better to work with files coming off of a 20 something megapixel rather than a 30 or a 40 megapixel something. So yeah, and then that's my next, like I said, my next step is to figure out a little bit about what kind of software we'll be dealing with, and that's an aspect I haven't really done much with before, is shooting in RAW and processing photos. So that's something I'm looking forward to getting into and seeing if that is for me, and if there's parts of that that I find interesting and I like. My intuition is that it seems interesting, but obviously it might be something that's takes more time than it's worth to me, but I'll at least try it out and see. Maybe yeah, who knows. We'll try it out and see. That's where I'm at. And yeah, guess that's all I wanted to say about getting into photography right now. See how it goes.